Today we're going to talk about Brock Vandagriff being named the #1 overall recruit in the country by Rivals after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, I want to talk about 2021 elite quarterback, 5-star quarterback, Brock Vandagriff being named the #1 overall recruit in the country by Rivals. Now, those of you that have been following this channel for any length of time know that I work over at 247, OUinsider.com, and I think this is fantastic. I think this is outstanding. What Top 247 is going to do about Brock Vandagriff, I don't know. They get dropped after major combines, and I'm sure Barton Simmons is going to have something to say about that, among others. Those folks, they take a while to put together the Top 247, but it's not as if I don't care about what the Rivals rankings say, because there's this thing called the 24/7 composite, which takes into account Top 247, ESPN, and of course, Rivals. So what they have to say and why they have to say it is actually intelligent when we're talking about what we're going to do with 247 composite rankings. Now, ESPN rankings kind of get wonky. I think that the top 247 and the Rivals rankings actually are pretty hand in hand. And then you couldn't have the 247 composite without Rivals. So I'm excited about this. And I'm also excited about it because that means that Lincoln Riley really does know what he's doing and quarterback evaluation, which makes the 2020 quarterback thing all the more maddening, because he's either saying, yo, I don't really think there's anybody in this class to take, which I don't believe is true, or I'm going to kind of drag my feet on this because I really want the top 2021 quarterback in Brock Vandagriff. Now, you can take that any way you want. You could say that Brock Vandagriff perhaps is more highly sought after than Spencer Rattler was at this stage, and you'd be right. You'd also be able to say that it's been a while since we could actually say that Oklahoma's been in on the #1 overall recruit in the country. They've been close. The likes of Jaden Hazelwood, right? And it's been years since that guy's been a quarterback at Oklahoma, right? I think that's fascinating because this is usually the top spot doesn't usually go to a quarterback unless that quarterback is, of course, your man's Trevor Lawrence, who many people say is the best high school football quarterback they'd ever seen. Cool. I mean, Kyler Murray exists, so if that's what you want to say, I can't stop you from saying it. I'm just going to continue to say Kyler Murray exists. So it's really difficult to say. But what is apparent is that Rivals thinks the world of the guy Lincoln Riley has targeted as his guy in the 2021 class since January. So he's way ahead. He's 6 months ahead on what Rivals has come around to thinking. Now, what does that mean for Brock Vandagriff going forward? Well, that's interesting because there are 3 options that he's laid out. There's a top 6, but it really does feel like it's down to Oklahoma, of course, Georgia, which is the state that he's from, and Florida. And I think a lot of this is going to come down to what the quarterback situation looks like ahead of him. And I think him committing is also going to tell you what Lincoln Riley is going to do in 2020 if Brock Vandagriff commits. And I also think that could play into the strategy of why we haven't seen Lincoln Riley dole out any other 2020 quarterback offers. And you heard me mention before, getting Mikey Henderson in the boat as a fullback gives you a dude that knows at least how to play quarterback at this level because he's doing it at the high school level, but he is not the kind of guy that you would recruit to run quarterback at Oklahoma. He's the guy you would recruit to run quarterback at, say, TCU, Kansas State, the kind of player that Alex Delton turns out to be, right? But now that Brock Vandagriff is the #1 overall recruit, his recruiting is about to ratchet up to the nth degree, because as much as coaches don't want to tell you that they read the rankings, they read the rankings. And they read the recruiting analysis and they watch the huddle film based on the rankings. Now, they'll tell you we come up with our own evaluations. Yeah, sure you do. They also are pointed in every different direction by who knows. I got to imagine that every time Kel Gundy tries to walk the streets, there's somebody coming up to him trying to tell him about Brendan Presley at Bixby, right? Or was trying to tell him about Josh Jacobs years ago. Or was trying to tell him about Nate Anderson down in Frisco. Dude's been in the game for like 20 years. I'm sure he's heard all the fishing stories about this kid you really got to see. Like, there's even talk about Lincoln Riley's 2020 quarterback is in the wrestling room at Oklahoma because that dude can absolutely play. So I still think, all that aside, when Lincoln Riley decides to make you his guy, that's going to stretch forever, right? I mean, Bryce Young gets to carry that in his back pocket if he signs with USC. All the quarterbacks that Lincoln Riley offered get to carry that in their back pocket. Lincoln Riley thought I was good enough to play quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. Now, Brock Vandagriff, he's saying, I think you're good enough to play almost immediately. Like, give me a redshirt year, and then you're competing for the job. Kind of like what I think with Spencer Rattler's going to happen with him right now. Now, that gets to be interesting because if Spencer turns out to be the guy that we all think Spencer could turn out to be, it'd be his job in 2020, be his job in 2021, and maybe then you're talking about Spencer Rattler leaving early, depending on what kind of numbers he's putting up and what the draft class is like. But since we know that Trevor Lawrence is going to be eligible for the 2021 draft, that also throws some stuff into, fluidity. But the transfer portal guys go in and out. I still think this is the best news for Brock Vandagriff because there's no other place to go than one. Now the conversation becomes, can you keep the number one spot? Frequently you can't. Frequently the rankings move in such a way that you'll be up and around it. Probably won't fall out of the top 10, but it'll be remarkable to see if Brock Vandagriff can hold on to that number one spot because the next three guys are like defensive ends. And those dudes usually do really, really well at camps. Specifically got things like the Rivals Camp Series, things like the opening final, things like the regional camp series, like the opening regionals and the Rivals Camp Series regionals. Like the Rivals 5-Star Challenge is going to be a big deal for Brock Vandagriff, who I understand is going to go. And I hope he tears it up, right? Just like I hope that they all do. But we're going to get to see whether or not he gets to hold on to those rankings, but right after the Rivals 5-Star Challenge, because I'm sure that they're going to take into account what did the 2020 group do? What did the 2021 group do? What do we like? What do we don't like? Which is what all regional and national analysts do. So that's where I'm at with this. I'm excited about it because that means that Oklahoma is once again really, really good and really, really right there in the driver's seat with a quarterback that you would absolutely want to have on the roster. All right, that is it for me. Deuces.